Hey guys, this is Channel Azure. It's me, Julian, this time. I recently played the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo. This is going to be a short impression because I'm going to have my full impressions next month when the game comes out on April 10th. Now, this game has been taking a while to be made because the original rumors were for the PS2 era, where Square Enix said something about the old PS1 games and people had like hope. But that was mostly baseless. Now, the thing I thought was going to be the case was for the PS3 demo. It was a tech demo during the launch of the PlayStation 3 for E3 that had the full Final Fantasy VII intro be remade for the PS3. And so I could see why people thought that was going to be the one that made the game be remade, because putting that much effort in, people thought Square Enix has to do the full thing. But it was just for that. So it took until about 2015 for the full thing to come out, a full announcement. And it took a while. There's a couple delays, but it's finally out, at least the demo. And I'm going to be honest, I was a little skeptical when I first heard about this because they weren't doing it in-house, and Final Fantasy 13 and 15 were a bit rough. And there's also the catastrophic failure of 14. But during the time span of the development, Square Enix started to redeem themselves a little bit with some big hits like 14 A Realm Reborn, which is, I think, one of the top 4 MMOs now. So they completely solved the MMO sphere. Then they had Nier Automata, which was a really good action game by Platinum, was the one who developed it. And that was a smash success. Then they finally released Kingdom Hearts 3, and while the combat wasn't the best in that one, it did improve when they did the DLC limit cut, where it was even better for me than Kingdom Hearts 2 gameplay with what they did with the super bosses in this one. And so that's when I was fully hopeful that Square Enix finally knew what they were doing. And even before that, I think around 2016 or 17, they said they got the Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix Battle Planner and Final Fantasy Dissidia. And if you've seen the games done after that, which is stuff like Birth by Sleep and 358, which was like the spin-off titles for Kingdom Hearts, and the newest one, NXT Dissidia for Final Fantasy, Square Enix really didn't know what they were doing when they lost him on those roles. So that's why I was hopeful, because he really hasn't made a mistake yet, because both of the ones he worked on that people know about, both Final Fantasy Dissidia and Kingdom Hearts 2, are considered masterclass in their combat system. And I definitely believe that that's the case, as soon as I first got my controllers, the movement was really good, the attacks very responsive, as they have enough quickness to them that you never feel like it's too slow, and the fact that you can dodge out of all your attacks makes it so that you want to use your full combo and not just be a little delayed with the you only want to do one or two, so it looks like you're just like stabbing into them with like a knife. That was a problem with Kingdom Hearts 3 combat system, as example, which wasn't made by Mitsunori Takahashi, which is the Kingdom Hearts 2 battle planner. And you could tell that he knows what he's doing. It took until the DLC for KH3 to figure out that you should be able to dodge out of your attacks so that you don't get punished unfairly. And you can also block right after the dodge, so you're able to do minimal damage, and it might be able to be no damage runs because of that. So I'm hopeful to see that. And another fun thing with this is that you can switch characters, so it's not exactly like Kingdom Hearts or Dissidia. So this guy is doing something fresh, which I'm glad. And it'll give variety to this game, which is longer than something like Kingdom Hearts. It takes about 12 to 20 hours, or Dissidia, which takes even less. This game's probably going to be like 20 to 40, so it's good that they have a lot of different characters to use, and they're varied and fun. While Cloud has the most work because he has 2 systems to them, which is the Punisher and Operator system. The fact that Barrett has his own unique stuff, and the other characters will too, will make it so you want to switch between them. And I think a good example of that is with the boss fight, as the boss fight had it where you had to use Thunder for Barrett and you had to use Cloud for like hitting him behind and stuff. So it made it so that you could really see their strengths and weaknesses, which is a good thing as the boss fights since KH2 for Square Enix games in-house were a bit weak with that, as is either you barely did any damage or you would get attacked immediately once you did an attack and other things like that. So the fact that this one was so solid from the first boss fight and the fact that it was also big made it that I'm very hopeful for the bosses, and that I'm optimistic that they're going to make stuff like Sephiroth an amazing fight that'll be remembered to the level of something like Virgil, Devil May Cry. And so the one thing that I'm a little negative about is the fact that the attacks you can't use in the overworld, so it makes it so that trying to find the items and stuff is a little slow and boring, but the thing that makes up for it is the fact that in the overworld there'll be like little obstacles to do. Like there was a laser thing in this one that made it so you had to time it, so you're not just trying to run around to get to the next enemy with nothing happening. So I'm glad, because in certain RPGs, even if the map is so big, there's nothing to really do in it. So it makes it so that this big map isn't a complete waste just for the sake of a big map. Like there's things to do in them. And so I think that's going to help really show their vision for Midgar. And the last thing I'll say too is that for the characters, I really do like the fact that Cloud and Barrett are expanded on, as people were a little worried for the fact that they had different actors. There was some like, oh, we like the old actors, but I see that they could have more range, especially with Cloud, as he was able to show snarkiness and a bit of his edge side without fully going edge, as his old actor couldn't really show his snarky side, because most of his roles were after Final Fantasy VII, where he doesn't really have as much snarkiness in him. And Barrett, he's definitely good at being overconfident, but I hope to see more of his serious side when you go to the village where his daughter's around. And so I hope that they did get a good one. And Tifa is already good from what I've seen in the trailers. So the last thing I'll say though is I'm glad the combat's unique, as sometimes when you play the same things that have like dial combos, which is the XX and YY, you can feel like you're playing the same game with a different coat of paint. So the fact that you have different characters and systems that aren't like anything else makes it so that it's easier to replay it, and it'll make it feel more like a unique experience, which is funny because this is based off a game from 20 years ago. So the fact that a remake feels more unique than some new original IPs even is an interesting thing that happens. So I'm hopeful for the full game to come out in next month, and that's about it. I'll see you next time.